Hi, this is Chris again with Nightfall Audiobooks. This is The Face by R.L. Stine. It's another Fear Street novel. It was requested by a viewer, and I have not read it before. I don't have any experience with this novel. I am slowly working my way down the list of requests. Still to do on that list is The Dare, The Knife, The Missing, Surprise Party, and The Confession. I will get to them when I get a chance, but one thing at a time. This book will be read to you from a text file. And what I've been experiencing with these text files is they're about 98% accurate. They were OCR'd. OCR means Object Character Recognition. So that means it was scanned from somewhere, probably another book or a manuscript or something. And when it does that, you might get some artifacting. So sometimes you get a forward slash instead of a capital I. Sometimes you get some weird brackets or umlauts or something like that. So I have to go and cut that stuff out and re-edit the file. It's just a text file. It's not a big deal. It takes a couple of seconds. It does mess up my progression because as I'm narrating, I have to sit there and go, what are those odd characters? Those aren't letters. And then stop and then re-edit and stuff. Like the first 5 chapters of this book wasn't numbered, so I had to go through and do 1, 2, 3. And then when I hit chapter 6, I'm like, okay, good. Chapter 6 is right, so that means the other 5 are correct. And then I hit chapter 7. Okay, good. Now we're validated. This is some of the background stuff that I have to do every once in a while when I work on these files and when I work on this show. That's all. I just wanted to share that with you. But I'm excited to get started. This should be a short read, but we'll see. So let's get started. If you want to get in touch with me, you can write me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am also on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If it wasn't for your comments, I wouldn't be doing this book so soon. I would be doing it later. So, thank you very much for listening, and let's get started. Welcome to a Nightfall Audiobooks production of The Face by R.L. Stine, a Fear Street novel, Book 35. Prologue. I had a dream that I was drawing a silver line. My sketch pad was propped against a white wall, and as I stared at the white paper, my hand moved slowly, steadily, and the line that I drew stretched across the page in silver, gleaming silver, cold silver. I drew another silver line, and then a circle. I pulled the page from the pad and smoothed my hand over the clean sheet beneath it. Then I started to draw another silver line. In the dream, I felt a chill as the silver line stretched over the page. I suddenly felt so cold. Silver is a cold color. Cold as metal, gray as winter. Such a strange dream, I remember thinking in my dream. I knew I was dreaming. I knew I couldn't really be drawing in such glittering silver. I started a new line, straight and very slender, a fine silver line. And as the line cut across the page, color seeped from it. The color red. A deep red seeped out from both sides of the silver line. Wet and glistening, the red spread over the page. The silver line cut into the paper, and the paper bled. The dark color spread until it covered the white page, and I woke from the dream, woke up screaming. Why did I scream? It was just a silver line. Just a drawing of silver and red. Just a dream. So why did I scream? I don't remember. I really don't remember. Chapter 1. After the accident, I guess I went into shock. I lost a part of my memory. A piece of my past life just slipped away from me. I don't remember anything about that week, or the weeks that followed. I see last fall and the early part of the winter as a dark blur. It's like watching a dim reflection in the murky waters of a deep pond. I can see ripples, but I'm not sure of the faces, or the movements of the dark, watery figures. What happened that week? That day? Why don't I remember the accident? Dr. Sales says my memory will return. One day the events of that week will come back sharp and clear. Dr. Sales tells me not to rush it. Sometimes I don't think he wants me to remember. Maybe it's all too horrible. Maybe I'll be sorry if I know the truth. Maybe I'm better off not remembering. Should I be thankful for the big hole in my memory? Dr. Sales tells me to go on with my life, and I try to, but my friends aren't quite the same. Sometimes I see Justine staring at me, her pale blue eyes narrowed, as if she's studying me, trying to pry into my brain. Adriana is always telling me to take it easy. Take it easy, Martha, as if I'm sick, some kind of invalid. Justin and Adriana seem so careful around me. They're always exchanging glances that I'm not supposed to see. They always seem to be watching me so carefully. Watching for what? Watching for me to crack? Watching for poor Martha to crack open like an egg and all my insides come running out in a yellow goo? I've had strange thoughts since the accident last fall. I can't help it. Dr. Sales says it's perfectly normal. That's me, Martha Powell. Perfectly normal. I guess I look normal enough. I'm average height and I weigh about 120. About right for a high school junior. I'm kind of preppy looking. I'm more J. Crew than grunge. I have blonde hair, long and very straight, olive eyes, big and round, my best feature, and light freckles on my cheeks that make me look about 12 years old. I guess I have a nice smile. I don't smile as much as I used to. But despite my weird thoughts, despite the holes in my brain, I guess I look okay. I'm not beautiful and dark and exotic looking like Adriana, and I love to have Justine's thick tangles of red hair, her full red lips, and her round, pale blue eyes. But I look okay. At least Aaron thinks so. Good old Aaron. He's been so loyal to me, so caring. I don't know what I would do without him. I'm so lucky that I've been going with him for so long. Justine reminds me just how lucky I am nearly every day. She's a good friend, but she doesn't try to hide her jealousy. Aaron is so great, Justine gushed a few afternoons ago. Check out that bod. Justine, give me a break, I groaned. We were in the gym bleachers at Shadyside High, watching a wrestling match against Waynesbridge. Aaron isn't exactly an all-state wrestler. He's big and athletic looking, but he doesn't work out as much as he should. The guy who was wrestling was short and heavy and hairy. He looked like a bear. He had Aaron down on the mat in some kind of arm hold. Aaron's face was bright red. He didn't look too happy. Justine gripped tangles of red hair in both hands. She had an intense expression, as if she were wrestling along with Aaron. Somehow, Aaron spun out of his opponent's arm lock. He pulled the hairy guy down. They were both grunting, both red-faced now. Aaron pinned him and jumped to his feet. "Well," Justine cried, clapping hard. "Well, way to go, Aaron." Aaron was breathing hard. Even from the bleachers, I could see the sweat pouring down his forehead, matting his brown hair. He helped pull his opponent up from the mat. Then he raised his head and flashed me a smile. I think he was smiling at me. Justine smiled and waved back, as if he were smiling at her. At least Justine is honest about it. She doesn't try to hide how much she likes Aaron. She's always flirting with him, even though he's my boyfriend. He flirts back sometimes, kids around with her. But I don't think he takes her seriously. As I said, he's been so loyal to me, so wonderful. All of my friends have been wonderful. If only they wouldn't walk on tiptoes around me. If only they wouldn't be so careful of what they say. I know what they're thinking about. I know what's on their minds. They probably wonder if my memory has snapped back. But they're afraid to ask. They won't talk about that last week in November, about the accident. They never talk about it in front of me. Maybe they don't want me to remember it either. Maybe they think I'm the lucky one. Maybe they wish they could lose their memories too. But I don't think I'm so lucky, because the questions are driving me crazy. What happened that night? How horrible was it? And why was I the one who went into shock? Chapter 2. I pressed my cheek against Aaron's shoulder. I liked the smell of his aftershave, cool and sweet. The first time he used it, I laughed at him. He only shaves about twice a week, but he splashes on the aftershave every day. After a while, I started to like it. I raised my head and kissed him. We had to be fast. We were sitting on a green leather couch in Aaron's den, and his little brother Jake was lurking about. If Jake saw us kissing, he'd probably wake up the whole house. That's the kind of kid he is, your basic brat. The TV was on, one of the Lethal Weapon movies. I like Mel Gibson. I think Aaron looks a little like him. Aaron has the same wavy brown hair and the same twinkling blue eyes, but we weren't paying any attention to the movie. Aaron had his arm around my shoulders, and we were trying to sneak in a few kisses before Jake came bursting in. Watching a dark-haired actress on the screen, I found myself suddenly thinking about Adriana. "I'm kind of worried about Adriana," I confided. Aaron grunted. We kissed. I heard footsteps behind us. "Jake, is that you?" Aaron called, glancing back over his shoulder to the den doorway. I heard giggling out in the hall. Jake is a major giggler. "Get lost," Aaron ordered him. "Make me," Jake's favorite reply. "Okay, I will." Aaron jumped up from the couch and started to the door. I heard another giggle, then Jake's heavy footsteps as he ran away. "Aaron was kissing Martha! Aaron was kissing Martha!" Jake chanted. Shaking his head, Aaron dropped back beside me on the couch. On the TV, a powerful explosion sent a building toppling to the ground. Aaron grabbed a handful of nacho chips from the bowl beside him. He offered me the bowl. I waved it away. Adriana has gotten so skinny, I continued. I'm really worried about her. Yeah, I know, Aaron replied, with a mouthful of chips. I sighed. You know, I think the accident affected Adriana more than anyone. Aaron swallowed. He kept his eyes on the TV screen. He didn't like it when I brought up the accident. She's lost so much weight, I repeated. And did you see the dark circles around her eyes? She's always had those, Aaron insisted, reaching for more chips. No way, I told him. She had to go to a doctor because she can't sleep at night. Probably out partying, Aaron joked. I gave his shoulder a hard shove. Shut up. He shrugged and kept his eyes on Mel Gibson. That's what Aaron always does when I try to bring up anything serious. Anything about the accident. He makes a joke. He refuses to discuss it. I can see his whole body tense up. It makes him so uncomfortable, which drives me crazy. I'm dying to discuss it. I need to discuss it. Also, I'm really worried about Adriana. Her grades are really suffering, I continued. She didn't even make honor roll this term. Aaron grunted in reply. You know that Adriana likes to be perfect, I reminded him. You know how competitive she is. I know it must really upset her. She got a C in Spanish. Do you believe it? That's her easiest course. Aaron shook his head. She's messed up, he murmured. He slid his arm around my shoulders. I snuggled against him, thinking about Adriana. When I kissed him, his lips tasted like nacho chips. The movie ended on the TV. The credits rolled across the screen. Did you talk to her? Aaron asked. Huh? I didn't know what he meant. Did you talk to Adriana about losing weight and everything? I sighed. You know Adriana, I said, squeezing Aaron's hand. I tried, but she refuses to talk to me about it. She won't discuss any of her problems with me. Aaron frowned. I thought you two were such close friends. We are, I insisted, but Adriana never wants to talk about herself. Instead, she's always worrying about me, always trying to cheer me up, always trying to help me. Whenever I try to bring up anything serious with her, she just tells me everything will be fine. Aaron nodded. He reached for the chips, then changed his mind. A serious expression settled over his handsome face. He locked his blue eyes on mine. Everything will be fine, he said softly. I nodded. That's what all my friends kept telling me. We kissed again. His lips still tasted salty. I didn't want him to pull away. I wanted the kiss to last forever. But we heard giggling behind us. I'm telling, Jake declared. Aaron jumped up to chase him away again. I could hear them running down the hall, giggling and shouting. I settled back on the couch, shut my eyes, and thought about Adriana. Justine and Aaron had pretty much returned to normal. Why was Adriana so much more trouble than they? Why had that night affected Adriana more than any of us? Of course, I couldn't answer the question. I still had no memory of anything that had happened. But I was determined to learn the answers. So much to learn. So much. So many surprises in store. And then, the next afternoon, Adriana's brother tried to kill me. Chapter 3. Ivan Petrakis, Adriana's oldest brother, looks so much like his sister, it's scary. They both have black hair, sort of wavy, sort of curly. Both of them are tall and thin and graceful. Both have soft brown eyes under heavy black eyebrows. Their faces are dramatic. They stand out in our class photos. Ivan adopted a new look this year. He had one ear pierced and wears a silver stud in it, and he let his sideburns grow long, and grew a black goatee under his chin, which drives his parents crazy. He wears black t-shirts and black denims, which make him look kind of tough, not like the other kids from North Hills, the wealthiest neighborhood in Shadyside. Lately, Ivan has been getting into trouble. At least, that's the rumor I heard from some guys who used to hang out with him. They say that he's messed up, that he's been drinking at parties and hanging out with some bad news kids from Waynesbridge. But I've always liked Ivan. Actually, I had a secret crush on him in 3rd grade, and I don't know if I ever got over it. When I ran into him at the Division Street Mall after school, I was glad to see him. Hey, Ivan, I called, rushing across the parking lot aisle. What's up? He did an exaggerated reaction of surprise, throwing out his hands and nearly falling over backward. Martha, whoa, what did you buy? Anything to eat? Any Snickers bars, Milky Ways? I forgot to eat lunch. I raised the 2 shopping bags I was carrying and motioned to the store behind me. Just art supplies. He groaned. You still doodling? Hey, I uttered a sharp cry. I'm serious about my drawing, Ivan. It's not doodling. That struck him funny. He let out his usual laugh, sort of a hooting sound that made his slender shoulders go up and down. What are you doodling these days, Martha? Shut up, I replied. He hooted again, scratched a tuft of fuzzy black hair under his chin. Want a ride home? Yeah, sure. I followed him to his red Civic. He sort of strutted as he walked, like some kind of tall, stuck-up bird. One headlight on the car was cracked, the fender dented around it. What happened, Ivan? An accident? He shrugged. I don't know. He pulled open the driver's door and lowered his long body into the tiny car. I tossed my 2 bags into the back seat, then climbed in beside him. The car smelled of cigarette smoke. I saw candy wrappers all over the floor. This would give me a chance to talk about Adriana, I decided, as Ivan backed out of the parking space. Maybe Ivan will have some ideas about how to help her. He guided the car to the exit, then pulled out onto Division Street. Want to run away? He asked suddenly. Excuse me? I turned to stare at him. Want to drive off and just keep driving? He asked, returning my stare with those intense brown eyes. Never turn back. Just keep driving in a straight line till we can't drive any more? I let out a short, uncertain laugh. You're joking, right? His expression didn't change. You don't really want to run away, do you? I demanded, feeling my chest tighten. He turned back to the windshield. Whatever, he murmured. He had to slam on the brakes to keep from plowing through a red light. We squealed to a stop in the middle of the crosswalk. The car behind us honked. Just joking, Ivan muttered. He tapped the wheel with both hands. How is Adriana? I asked, eager to change the subject. Ivan seemed really tense, really wound up. Has she been sleeping any better? The light changed. He lowered his foot on a gas pedal, and the car shot forward with a squeal. I don't know. Ask her. He sounded so bitter. I'm worried about her, I confessed. She told me she hasn't been sleeping, or eating. Boo-hoo, he scowled. I shot him an angry look, but his eyes were on the road. It was about 5:30, rush hour, and the streets were jammed with cars. You're her brother. Don't you worry about her? My question burst out more shrill than I had planned. He shrugged again. He seemed to talk mainly with his shoulders. She's okay, he replied in a low, flat tone. She went to a doctor last week. She taught her self-hypnosis or something. Excuse me? A truck roared past. I wasn't sure I'd heard correctly. You know, Ivan said, shouting over the truck noise. She hypnotizes herself, to help her sleep. Wow, I replied. Dumb, I know, but I wasn't sure what to say. Is it safe? I asked finally. Ivan didn't seem to hear me. He made a left onto Park Drive. The sky darkened nearly to black. Only 5:30, and it already looked like the middle of the night. I hate February. Adriana's grades, I started, but Ivan interrupted with a hoarse cry. It isn't easy to sleep at my house, Martha, he shouted, slapping the steering wheel. Nothing is easy at my house these days. I knew that Ivan's parents weren't getting along. The rumor was that Mr. Petrakis had threatened to move out. Your parents? I asked meekly. I didn't really want to get into it. I mean, it really wasn't my business. It's a war zone, Ivan declared, shaking his head. Even in the dim light, I could see his dull eyes, see the bitter scowl on his face, bitter, yet mixed with fear. Last night they started throwing things at each other, he said, keeping his eyes straight ahead on the road. Oh no, I murmured. Like babies. They started heaving plates and glasses at each other, broken china all over the kitchen. I tried to stop them. It was so stupid. Ivan's voice broke. I let out a long sigh. How awful, I murmured. Then what happened? Mom went running into the bedroom, crying and shrieking her head off. Dad stormed out, slammed the door. I don't think he came back last night. At least, I didn't hear him. Is your mom okay? I asked, squeezing the door handle. Ivan swallowed hard. I don't know. I heard her sobbing all night. Their bedroom is right next to mine. He lowered his voice to keep it from cracking again. Bad break for me, huh? I didn't know what to say. Ivan's parents had been battling for months. Adriana gave me reports almost daily. They fought and fought, but neither would move out. No wonder Adriana and Ivan were so nervous and crazy. I peered out the window at the dark trees and houses whirring past us, whirring past so rapidly. A blur of black shadows against blackness. I realized Ivan was driving too fast. Ivan, please, I started. We bolted through the stop sign at Canyon Drive. He didn't seem to notice. Ivan, slow down, I cried. I just can't take it anymore, Ivan shrieked. His eyes were wild. He gripped the top of the wheel with both hands. It's too much, Martha, too much. Ivan, no! I gasped in horror as he let out another cry, and spun the wheel hard. I can't take it. His words, a wail of pain, shouted over the roar of the engine. The car squealed. Tires scraped as he floored the gas pedal, spun the wheel, spun the car, spun us around, and aimed, screaming the whole time, screaming out the pain from deep inside him, screaming as we spun. I covered my eyes as the enormous black trunk of a tree loomed in the headlights. Ivan was heading us toward it. Ivan is trying to kill us. My last thought on Earth. Chapter 4. Ah! My head hit the roof hard as we bounced over the curb. A shock of pain shuddered down my body. We bounced again, and slowed to a stop. I uncovered my eyes. My hands shook. My whole body trembled. I gasped for breath, trying to slow my pounding heart. I rubbed my head, still throbbing in pain. Ivan! I'm sorry, Martha, he cried. We're alive, I murmured. The words tumbled out. I wasn't thinking clearly. It was still all a blur, a dark, bouncing blur. We're alive, Ivan! I'm so sorry. A sob escaped his throat, and without realizing it, I had turned, and I was holding him in my arms, feeling his body shake beneath his leather coat. We're alive! I turned the wheel. I couldn't do it. I couldn't go through with it, he stammered. I held him tightly, pressing my cheek against his. We're alive! We're alive! I couldn't stop chanting it. I wasn't really going to do it, Ivan murmured, his voice shaking. Not really. I wouldn't do it. I could feel him start to calm down. If only my heart would slip down from my throat. I'm okay, he said abruptly, almost coldly. He pushed me away. I'm okay now, Martha. Really. I slumped back into my seat and glanced out the window. We were in the middle of someone's front yard. A porch light cast yellow light over the front door, but the house was dark. Ivan, maybe you shouldn't drive, I managed to choke out. I'm okay now. Really, I'm fine. I'm fine. A hard, cold look tightened his handsome face. He narrowed his eyes, stone-faced now, as if he were fighting away all feelings. He slammed the car into reverse, and we bounced back onto the street. His face remained frozen in that cold stare as he drove me home. He didn't say another word. Your brother is really messed up, I told Adriana. It was a Saturday afternoon, and we were up in my room. A gray February afternoon. Dark clouds threatening snow. I had the window open despite the cold. My room is always hot. The cool air felt good. A strong breeze fluttered the curtains. Huh? Adriana sat at my dressing table, trying out blusher and lip gloss and other stuff from a new makeup kit my mom had given me. This is too pale for me, don't you think? I cleared off my desk and set down a large drawing pad. I planned to sketch this afternoon, some self-portraits maybe. Adriana's visit was a surprise. She seemed bored, kind of restless. I kept saying things but she only half heard me. I wondered what was really on her mind, but I didn't really feel like asking her. Ivan is not in good shape, I repeated. Yesterday afternoon. Who is in good shape? Adriana replied bitterly. She pulled out a handful of tissues and started wiping the blusher off her cheek. I have such dark skin. This just doesn't work. I turned and studied her reflection in the mirror. You look kind of tired, I said. I still can't sleep. She shook her head, started to apply a shiny lip gloss onto her full lips. A gust of wind fluttered her dark curly hair. Ivan said he went to a doctor, I said, trying to sound casual. Adriana didn't like for people to pry, even a good friend like me. I think she was embarrassed about her family problems. Her parents' endless battles were humiliating to her. She gave me almost daily reports, but I never got the feeling she wanted me to question her about it. So I didn't. She sighed, staring at herself in the mirror. Her name is Dr. Corbin. She's trying to teach me self-hypnosis, to help me get to sleep. Sometimes I can do it. Sometimes it doesn't work. She yawned as she started to rub off the lip gloss. I have to keep practicing. I watched her reach for another tube. Then I flipped through the blank pages of the drawing pad. I opened the desk drawer and pulled out a handful of charcoal pencils. Do you have the history notes? Adriana asked, turning to face me. Excuse me? I couldn't hide my surprise. You want my notes? Adriana was the straight-A student, not me. She'd never asked me for any notes of mine before. Pink circles formed on her cheeks. She turned away. I haven't been able to concentrate too well in class. I've been so tired and everything. I missed some things. She seemed so embarrassed, so troubled. I pulled my history notebook from my backpack and handed it to her. Here, no problem. Hey, thanks. She stood up to leave. I took a step back. She's so much taller than I am. I always feel like a 10-year-old next to her. I followed her to the door, still troubled about Ivan, still hoping to tell her how messed up he was. Ivan gave me a ride home yesterday, I said. Adriana, I think he needs some kind of help. He seemed really out of control. She turned at the bedroom door. Martha, come on. You know what my brother's problem is. She rolled her eyes. Huh? I searched her face, trying to figure out what she meant. Ivan's problem is Laura, Adriana explained. You mean? Ever since Laura broke up with him, Ivan has been acting like a total jerk. Sometimes I just want to smash him. She swung the history notebook as if battling someone. I thought about what Adriana was saying. Laura Winter is another friend of ours. With her sleek black hair and shimmery blue-gray eyes and perfect cheekbones, she is the most beautiful girl at Shadyside High. Laura is so beautiful, she's had some national modeling jobs. Everyone at school is convinced that someday Laura will move to New York and become an actress or a modeling superstar. Ivan could never believe that Laura wanted to go out with him, and neither could we. When they started going together, it was the talk of the whole school. I always thought that Ivan was more serious about their relationship than Laura. Going out with Laura helped them forget about the ugly battles at home. I was never sure why Laura decided to go with Ivan. Every guy at Shadyside had the hots for her. Then, sure enough, she dumped him last winter. She was pretty cold about it, too. At least, that's what Adriana reported. Ivan never talked about it with me. Ivan is still in shock, Adriana said, pressing the history notebook against the front of her sweater. Months later, and he still can't believe that Laura isn't crazy about him. Has he called her? I asked. Adriana shook her head. No way. He's so stuck up. I think he's waiting for her to call him. Adriana laughed, sort of an empty laugh. I didn't join in. Ivan had nearly killed us both the day before. I knew that his problems were no laughing matter. Adriana, someone should talk to Ivan, I said. Her brown eyes flared. You try to talk to him. Her voice sounded angry. He's impossible. No one can talk to him. But, Adriana, I protested. Her expression softened. Don't worry about him, Martha. Ivan can take care of himself. You're such a nice person. You worry about everyone but yourself. She gripped the notebook with both hands. Her eyes locked on mine. We all just want for you to be okay. Don't worry about Ivan. She turned and disappeared down the stairs. I started after her. I am worried about Ivan. I don't think he can take care of himself. You don't realize how upset he is. That's what I wanted to say to Adriana, but I stopped in the hallway with a sigh. Adriana didn't want to discuss Ivan. She didn't want me interfering in her family life. I stepped back into my room. The clouds outside the window had darkened to a deep charcoal color. The wind gusted, making the curtains flap against the wall. It's freezing in here, I realized. I shut the window and straightened the curtains, pushing them back into place. Then I made my way across the room to my desk and sat down in front of my fresh, clean drawing pad. I pulled back the cover and tucked it beneath the pad. Then I sifted through the pile of charcoal pencils till I found the narrow point I wanted. I always find a brand new drawing pad kind of exciting. There it is, empty and clean, waiting to be filled up with something that's never been seen before. I take special art classes at the State College in Waynesbridge. My teachers all think my talent can be developed. I'm trying to put a portfolio together, mostly portraits. I need it to apply to the special summer art program at the college. I rolled my desk chair away and slid it against the wall. I like to draw standing up. I shut my eyes and tried to clear my mind. Tried to clear all thoughts about Ivan and Adriana from my mind. Tried to clear all thoughts from my mind. Then I gazed down toward the desktop at the drawing pad, at the fresh white sheet, raised the pencil, and started to draw. A face, I decided. I'll draw my face. The pencil scratched against the surface of the paper. I started with eyes. I always start with eyes. Whoa, not my eyes. The eyes I drew were oval. My eyes are kind of round. Leaning over the desk, I gazed down at the eyes. They seemed to stare up at me. I filled in the pupils. Dark pupils. Serious eyes. I swept the pencil over the pad, creating a light outline of the head, the basic shape. Not my head, I saw. A slender face, with those dark, serious eyes. Hey, what's happening? I murmured out loud. Who are you? My hand moved quickly now, filling in the details. Wait, no. What was happening? The charcoal tip scratched the paper. It seemed to be moving on its own, out of my control. My hand, it curled over the paper, moved in short circles, dipped and rose up, as if drawing by itself, as if drawing without me, as if guided by my ghostly hand. I continued to draw, staring down in amazement, in fear. I let my hand finish the drawing. I knew I couldn't stop it.